Nature. It's serene and tranquil. We have relished in its splendor, from rolling hills to bright colors of a flower's petal. Yet there's another side to nature. Nature's wrath, a fascinating aspect that gives humans the opportunity to witness Earth in action. And at the same time, it's this rage that creates destruction, fear, and then complacency. Our coexistence with nature not only includes how we manage and sustain its resources, but how we evolve in the intervals between destructive phenomena. Disasters on a regional scale often make the news quickly and become media sensations. There are stories about people not wanting to leave their home prior to Katrina hitting land. Reports of people resisting warnings from scientists prior to the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Stories of upset television viewers when their favorite program was interrupted by a broadcast meteorologist informing the viewing area of severe weather, and the lack of potential harm posed on an individual when they stray from the path to get a better view of a geothermal steam vent. We, the taxpayers, give millions of dollars every year to scientists and scientific institutions to study and inform us of the functions and processes of this planet. Yet when we are warned about the possibility of a natural phenomenon significantly influencing our existence, we find every possible way to refute their findings. Why? If we place our trust on the scientific community to inform us, why do we ignore them? Is this the looming disaster? A disaster that we bring on ourselves. Change. It's a difficult thing to do. Routine is easy. We set up a routine and we enjoy it because we don't have to think about what it is next. Routines are passed from person to person and generation to generation. Along the way, things happen that alters the routine, but we adapt. It's the significant change in our routine that we find complicated, especially when it comes to the influence nature has on us.
Nature changes our daily routine when we have to change our daily routine. When we're driving down the road and there's a flood across the street, we have to go around the flood. But more than when it's just an annoyance, I think it changes our daily routine when it impacts our sense of security, our sense that what we're doing will continue from day to day.
I think nature changes impact every day, and we respond to them in a minute fashion until it gets to a point where it's such a drastic change that we actually notice it and pick up our ears and say, okay, there's been a change.
Whenever something of a large enough magnitude that would divert our attention from what we normally do, something that doesn't even have to be catastrophic, something like a weather event, and doesn't even have to be severe weather. Just maybe rain or heavy rain or snow, certainly if you're traveling from point A to point B, and you're concerned about road conditions, that would get our attention and divert it from what we typically want to do.
Nature doesn't change our daily life. We learn that the weather has variations to it. The stream levels have variations to it. There's going to be thunderstorms, and we become a little complacent with the fact that these things happen around us.
Our initial response is, I don't think this is really going to interfere with what I want to do. And I know I'm hearing various agencies saying, yes, be cautious of this problem or that potential problem. And you say, yeah, but it's okay. I think I can handle that. So we want to continue on, and sometimes we'll ignore real problems and potential problems that may crop up in the next 6, 8, 10 hours. That's our response. We don't want to change our routine. We don't want to.
Sometimes, the case is that you just need to be hit over the head with it. That this can affect me. If it's not affecting you individually, sometimes it's hard to to grasp that idea that this is something I should take seriously.
We're concerned about are humans going to be injured or hurt or be seriously hurt by some pending natural disaster. That's the first thing. Can we be safe? Will we be safe? What should we do in the event that this becomes a reality? How do we handle this? So life, the safety of our lives is primary.
This actually doesn't happen too often. People who are impacted by a natural hazard, if they're injured or even emotionally damaged, they tend to come back to their original neighborhood because they want what is comfortable for them. They come back to their comfortable haunts in order to cope emotionally with the discomfort of the natural hazard.
Property, material goods, you can all replace those. And I think that's one of the problems with our society at the time, is this particular period of time, is that we think that we need more than that. But if you got your folks, if you got your family around you, you're safe, you're good. You can always get the stuff back. But too many folks are saying, oh, you know, I got to stay with the house and make sure that it doesn't get taken away. You're going to die if something like that happens. And so get out, make sure that you and your loved ones are safe, and, you know, society will rebound. They'll rally around you. Usually, people are pretty good about getting supplies for folks that haven't had any water or food or whatever for a while, clothes and whatnot. Everybody's always pitching together and trying to make sure everybody's all right. Sure, you may not get back to Lexus, but at the same time, do you really need to have the high-end car, or would you rather have your young child, you know, be alive? So,
other things they are concerned about is loss of economic wealth, if you will. When it hits them in the pocketbook, that's when they start getting upset. And I think in addition, when they start getting impacted in their routine, people are people of habit. A few of us, by choice, choose not to live with routine, and that's okay. But most of us choose to do the same thing day after day after day, and we don't like to have that routine changed. And a natural disaster definitely changes your routine if you're in the middle of it.
The economy is a significant aspect for the progress of society because it's the only component that demonstrates success. If you think critically about this, the economy is based how we manage the coexistence with nature, whether it's positive or negative. If a natural event occurs and we did nothing to adapt to the event before it occurred, is it not true that we would spend more tax dollars to clean it up? This is a significant aspect of how we deal with natural hazards because they don't fit within our routine of economic success. This has been a recurring theme in the recent past.
I guess there are basically two approaches. One is, let it happen, and the consequences of it, we'll deal with that, and we'll spend the money necessary to deal with it. Sea level rise, disease where disease wasn't before, the march to the north of organisms that causes problems. That's one approach, and that'll cost lots of money to deal with it in that way, which is ignore it, and we'll deal with the ramifications of climate change as it happens. The other approach is, let's spend the money now, reduce the greenhouse gases, stop it, CO2, stop with the fossil fuels are greatly reduced, but that takes a lot more money now. That's admitting that there's a problem, and admitting that we can do something now. Once you try to mitigate it in the present, you're going to spend a lot more money now than you would over the long haul, maybe some trillions of dollars to address it now globally.
I was reading a magazine the other day in a doctor's office, and it was talking about the best retirement sites. Here are the sites you're going to buy to retire, cheapest, most nicest retirement sites. And where are they? On the Gulf Coast, on the coast of Florida, on the east side of the nation. And I'm thinking, they're not even concerned about global warming causing the water levels to rise. They're not concerned with the fact that you buy this land today, it's going to be inundated with water tomorrow due to global warming. Nobody is considering this on a practical level.
The economy is a vital aspect of society. In fact, it determines our status. Those who have it are seen as dominant. Those who don't are less than dominant. It's tangible. What is not tangible is life. Why is life viewed as insignificant in this regard? Have we viewed our existence with nature as we control nature to suit our needs? Therefore, life is based on our economic progress.
Without life, money has no meaning. Without your presence on the planet, all the money in the world is meaningless. So when we're faced with a decision, do we try to protect life, or do we try to protect property, or keep the dollars flowing, or keep the dollars safe? It's very straightforward. We must always primarily protect life, and once that's in hand, once the protection of life is in hand, then we can concern ourselves with wealth.
It's an interesting question, because I don't think anybody's necessarily complacent about life. You hear about, Right to Life folks, and you hear about the anti-abortionists. There's always something going on, and it doesn't necessarily have anything to do with natural disasters. Whether or not it raises its, or we are aware of it, I think is the difference, okay? So if you have one person that dies because they had leukemia, let's say, versus 100,000 people that die because a tsunami comes through, which one's going to catch your attention? So I think it's just a matter of numbers. I don't think there's any diminishment or enhancement of a perspective of what life costs, or what, is a life or death situation. I think it's just sheer numbers perks up our attention and gets our attention.
In the days prior to the eruption of Mount St. Helens, the governor of Washington drew up a red zone to restrict people from entering the hazardous area near the now active volcano. Inhabitants were outraged. Scientists warned of a potentially dangerous situation, stating that the signs of a major eruption were accumulating. Yet, people ignored the significance of the situation and demanded a change in procedures. The governor relented and allowed citizens to enter the red zone as long as they signed a legal document releasing the government of any responsibility. Ignoring the potential threats of death, they signed.
Folks don't think things are going to happen to them. In Washington, or Mount St. Helens, there was an imminent explosion, eruption, and it was being predicted, it was being charted. But these folks had a sort of a background history in other places that they had seen. For example, Mammoth, California, which is a little bit further to the south. They were primarily a resort town, okay? Their business was primarily built upon people coming there and spending vacation time. It's a lovely little town nestled in the Sierra Nevada. And the USGS there said that there was imminent eruption. And so they, there's CO2 emissions, higher sulfur gases coming out, trees are being killed, which indicate that the atmosphere is changing right around where the gases were being emitted. And so there was quite good evidence that there was going to be an eruption. And so they got the townspeople to pack up, move out, close down, and they lost an entire year's revenue, which for a tiny little town that has no other source of income, that was quite the impact. And nothing ever happened. It's not the fault of the USGS, it's not the fault of the geologists. Nature is sometimes not predictable. But they had enough evidence to suggest that there was going to be an eruption, and the townspeople obeyed and took care of business, got out of the way, and then they were paid back, as they thought, by having loss of revenue. And so they blamed the government. They blamed them for not knowing better. And so these folks up in Cougar, I think, kind of had that same kind of idea. Well, let's have the 100% proof that we're going to have an eruption first, and then we'll consider ourselves loss of business, getting not as much revenue.
It's again that short-sighted aspect of, well, it hasn't erupted in the past, and I'm not too worried about it, and this is affecting, my livelihood, and so I would like those people to be able to come in here. Once they shut that off, then it hurts me, and there's that aspect of how does inherent human nature of how things influence you as an individual. And so, yes, that influences my business, and so I don't want them to do that. Even though it may be better in the long run because of the danger to property and lives. If you don't see something happen immediately out there at the volcano, then, hey, don't cut off my resources here and hurt my business.
In the event of a natural hazard, Local or national media send out reporters and broadcasters to cover the event. We have seen these people standing in hurricane-force winds, describing the extreme conditions. At times, the presenter was blown off their feet. Storm chasing is another exciting career, and a career held by professionals. Yet, enthusiastic teenagers and adults fascinated by the thrill get involved without formal training. The result is needless injury or death.
It's fascinating to see a tornado from a distance. It's fascinating to be walking in a blizzard, knowing that there's safety within a very short distance from where you are. To experience to experience nature. We are part of nature, and so we want to experience natural events. So, but knowing that some of those natural events can be very dangerous to get too close to, we simply need to experience as much as we can, and sometimes it's better to experience it on film, to experience it at a distance where you're not being potentially, the potential for harm is not there. But we're curious. We want to know. We want to see. We want to experience that tornado from a distance. We want to experience that blizzard.
The ones that pop to my mind are the hurricane parties. Typically in Florida or somewhere along the coastline there, you'll have folks that are told Class 4, Class 5 hurricane is headed your way, and instead of running as far and fast as they can, they get together their friends and they get on top of the tallest structure and they get outside or on balconies or some place where they can see it, because of course you want an unobstructed view, and they drink and eat and watch the thing slam into their building, and typically they die.
And something like 20 or 25 people stayed and had a hurricane party, even though the warnings were issued that a strong severe hurricane was approaching. They stayed because it was a solid building. Well, the next morning, the building was gone. The only thing that was left was the concrete foundation, and most of the people were gone as well. There was one survivor. Third floor window floated out in a mattress.
These people, the police try and try. They try and board up the buildings. They try and forcibly remove them, and they just are adamant that they're going to witness this spectacular event. It is a spectacular event, absolutely stellar. But you're going to die if you're right in the middle of it.
Mother Nature influences us on a daily basis. But when those extreme events come, and those extreme events can be far beyond anything that you've ever seen, it just is a magnetic draw, and even more so for the scientists that study them, because that's something that you can learn more about. You know that these type situations have occurred in the past, but if you haven't seen them, you don't have the same perspective on understanding them and knowing their possible effects than if you only had read about them.
Each year, more than 1 million visitors make their pilgrimage to Yellowstone National Park. Each car and RV that enters through the main gates receives a park publication. On the front page and scattered throughout the publication are important rules and regulations each visitor must obey. Stay legal. Know these numbers. 25, the number of yards you must stay away from wildlife. Except 100, the number of yards you must stay away from a bear. These are instructions to visitors to protect them from possible injury or death. Yet people flock to wildlife sightings like they were at an amusement park or zoo in order to get that much-desired photographic moment to share with friends and family back home.
There have been countless situations where you're driving through the park and you come up and all the cars are jammed up, and then eventually you get to a point where you can see what all the fuss is about. And there, maybe off 100 feet from the road is a bull elk or a bull moose, and a great photo opportunity. But there are limits to what's a great photo opportunity and what is a danger to oneself. And sadly, far too often you see folks going for that great photo op, and they are way too close to this this massive animal that wants to be left alone, is just happy munching on grass or whatever, and doesn't want to be disturbed.
Oh, it's in the park. I'm in a park. Parks are safe. Buffaloes must be safe. So let's go put Johnny on the back of Buffalo and take a picture. And you know, they constantly have problems with that. So I think it's part that they just aren't thinking, and part that they experientially haven't ascertained that it is dangerous.
The concern of park rangers throughout the United States is that people sometimes don't understand the meaning behind rules and regulations. Not only are they determined for the safety of the visitor, but the safety of the wildlife and future protection of the fragile physical feature. No matter how many times the possible threat to life is printed or stated verbally, the general result is the same. People find it hard to follow rules because there is something inherently important in getting that picture or experiencing the thrill of a hurricane storm surge firsthand, and then to ask, should I be doing this?
The rules and regulations in the national parks, especially in Yellowstone, are to keep people protected from their own ignorance. People go in there and they don't realize how hot the water is. People go jumping into the lakes there, the small geothermal lakes, and they boil. They turn into soup. Kids have done this in the past. People go and put their kids on the bison. The bison are wild animals and gore their kids and gore them. And so the rangers make these rules to keep people safe against their ignorance, and people still break the rules. They still, even though the rules say don't approach the wild animals, do not put your kids on the bison, don't feed the bears, and people still do it despite the rules because they think, oh, it looks safe. It looks safe. How can this be harmful? Oh, those bison are so cute. They can't hurt you.
The looming disaster is not the disaster brought about nature, but the threat we pose on ourselves that brings disaster. The manner in which we choose between life and death when nature is held by no boundary or human laws must be taken seriously, whether it is on a global scale or with each individual. Nature's rage will always be there without the human ability to control it. This is the change we must attempt with greater concern before the next needless loss of life occurs.
The Chinese in 2000 BC had this debate. Do you live with nature's wrath? That is, do you build your community so that you let nature have its wrath, you live with natural disasters, and when nature's disasters happen, you cope with them, and then you rebuild or you move around them? Or do you try and control the natural disaster, as man is able to control part of it, and so that the natural disaster doesn't affect you?
Although we have learned the danger of touching a hot pot of boiling water when we were children, we must continue to acknowledge nature's wrath as that boiling pot of water. Perhaps scientists are our parents warning us that it's hot.
Well, science is our tool, our tool to learn about the world around us. That's how we do it with science. Science is objective. Science is deductive. Science is unbiased. So it's our tool to learn about this wonderful world of ours.
Whether it's medicine, advances in medicine, we're studying things, trying to understand how and why, and in doing so, we learn things that can help society, can help humanity, and therefore scientists have a key role in the community and should be it's important that their word is then properly communicated to the general public.
Scientists are becoming more and more knowledgeable, and we know more and more about the world and about how it works. And I'm proud to say we know more and more. We can tell people more and more about the world and predict what's going to happen, and tell people how they should react, how they should behave to have less injuries if natural disasters happen, how they should live with the earth so that they will survive better.
We as a society need to understand more of cause and effect. That's bottom line. It's not even just being scientists. It's just, you know, if you do something, what's the ramifications of it? And science helps you learn how that occurs.
People, however, want their scientists to be infallible, to always be right. Scientists are not infallible. We are not always right. We can never predict with 100% assurance. Get used to this fallibility in scientists, but we are trying to protect your life and realize that.
To learn more about this program and take a look behind the scenes, visit our website at tempestusproductions.com.